So, Braum was released on the PBE, and now I have something to tell the guys at Riot. Thank you, dear lord, thank you, not just because it's another friggin' support, but because it's absolutely awesome, fun to play, and incredibly versatile. A few people have asked me a couple of times what my favorite support is, and my answer used to be Thresh, hands down. Guess what? That answer is probably about to change, and the mustache? Absolutely glorious. But yeah, I wanted to go for like 100 games with Braum on the PBE server. Unfortunately, the server has been down quite often, so I haven't gotten to that point yet. But I still managed to get a good feeling of how the champion works, so this video is going to be about my first impressions after a few games with him. Bear in mind that everything I say in this video may be subject to change because it's the PBE we're talking about. Yes, let's go for a rundown of how his skills work. His passive is concussive blows. As soon as Braum gets a stack of his passive onto an enemy with either an auto or his Q, that target will be marked, and do bear in mind that you may mark several enemies at the same time, not just one. When marked, Braum's and allies' auto attacks will further increase the stack count. When that count reaches 4, the target will be stunned for a duration that will depend on Braum's level, pretty much the same duration as any stun. The stacks will last around 5 seconds, which seems to be quite enough time to make something happen, and not quite enough time to make it feel OP. It's his passive that grants him his offensive presence in lane as well. Even if Braum is out of mana, if he manages to land a single auto attack on you, you'll have to account for the follow-up stun just because of his allies' autos. It also makes Braum pretty good in teamfights because he can simply rotate between targets just like Udyr does with bear stance. And yes, it can be pretty damn annoying. His Q is Winter's Bite, and it's your standard skill shot. It will damage and slow the first target hit for 70%, decaying over time. It's your main damage ability. It's probably the skill to max in lane most of the times, and its damage scales off HP. Yes, HP, meaning that if you go back to get at Sightstone, you'll get map control, tankiness, and damage. Not a ridiculous amount, mind you, but still a pretty decent sum for support, I'd say. It's also one of the reasons that makes me go for a Face of the Mountain every single game. If you've seen my videos in the past, you may know that I'm not a big fan of the item, just because Frost Queen's Claim and the Talisman just seem to have a lot more team utility. Still, it seems to be a must-have indeed. His W is Stand Behind Me. Now let me just get this out of the way, you cannot jump onto wards. You can however jump onto minions or any other allies. If you can jump onto Yorick's ghouls is still somewhat uncertain, but I'm fairly sure it should work as well. When you do, both you and your ally will get increased armor and magic resist, so it is a good skill for diving purposes, for instance. You will also be placed between your ally and his nearest enemy, so that means you can block Caitlyn's ult just by using this skill on your ADC, for instance. It is also an incredibly versatile skill. Braum doesn't have gap closers per se, but his allies might, which leads me to believe that he will work incredibly well with high mobility comps. You can use your W to assist the engager, or even save it to protect your ADC if he's being flanked after engaging. The possibilities are endless, and it's definitely one of my favorite parts of his kit. I absolutely love it. His E is unbreakable. You may think Yasuo's wall just straight out of the box, but it's not quite so. First of all, when you use it, you'll create a shield in the direction of your choice. All damage coming from that direction that is not coming from a turret will get reduced. However, the first skill or attack from a champion that hits that wall will get its damage reduced to 0. So for instance, if you're playing against a Vayne, you may want to save the shield for the third silver bullet hit. Timing is absolutely key with this ability. The cool thing about the wall is that it breaks projectiles thrown at it. So say you're playing against a Janna. Janna's tornado will hit the wall and it will knock you up. However, it will not go through it and it will not deal any damage. Same thing for Nami's ultimate. The ultimate will get destroyed. It will deal no damage, but you will be knocked up, not your teammates. So while you may think he's the perfect counter to Thresh, Leona or Morgana, don't forget that you will still get affected by those abilities, just not damaged. It does seem to be incredibly good against the likes of Ashe, Ezreal, Jinx, and so on though. Also, it increases Braum's move speed by 10%, so you may want to use it for engaging purposes. Just make sure you won't be exposed to anything harsh from using it prematurely. Finally, his ultimate, Glacial Fissure. If you guys play Dota, you may know Earthshaker. The feel you have when you use this ult is rather similar, even though the effects of it are quite distinct. It is a skill shot that will knock targets up as well as slow enemies in the area. Now, you may think Nami, but the ults do feel different. While Braum's ult is almost instantaneous, its range is shorter than Nami's wave. Both are good, mind you, but Braum's ult seems to have more impact in teamfights, while Nami's tidal wave seems to be perfect for disengaging and counter-engaging. Just my opinion though, you guys will see soon enough. So what matchups do I like to play with? So far, AD carries with gap closures and attack speed steroids seem to be the best with Braum. Lucian is an absolute beast because of his passive and E. Tristana should also be good, as well as Twitch and a few others. He also seems to be incredibly good against the likes of Caitlyn, Ezreal, or even Jinx. How do you counter him? Mostly by playing poke champions, I'd imagine. I'd have to give him a try when he goes live, but for now he does seem rather strong and versatile. I wouldn't really know how to categorize him though. He doesn't have the gap closer of a standard kill lane, just like the damage output before he hits level 6 that is, and his only source of poke is his Q. Still, he does seem to fit somewhere in between those types of laners, but he does feel like more of a disengager to me. There are crap loads of tricks that I want to give a try, but for that, you'll have to tune into my stream. I'll be streaming as much Braum PvE footage as I possibly can. For all mustache coverage, don't forget to subscribe to the channel by clicking the lantern. I should definitely make a new sub button with a mustache. My Facebook, Twitter, and stream. I'll see you guys soon. Peace out.